Augustus Kent. Can you please summarize why the markets are doing what they are doing, and why is Ergo being affected by it? So this year has been a year where we have continually, let's say, witnessed and kind of been reinforced why decentralization is important, right? The long and short of it is you have this character that had a proprietary trading firm and also had an exchange. And part of how an exchange works is if you look at, let's say, a wallet on an exchange, right? The exchange has custody of that. They do keep kind of a record of account, somewhat similar to, I guess, how you would look at a bank, where, they have a registry of all of the different actors and their holdings in that one wallet, right? And so that gives them a tremendous amount of power. And it is a trusted environment that, in terms of TradeFi and, well, in this case, the exchange itself, it seems, you have to ask, are they somebody that, basically is a good custodial actor in terms of trust? And in this case, it appears not to be the case, right? So what does that mean? It probably means that they were playing around with users' deposits, probably trading them, in a way that really was not wise. They also had a lot of funny business in terms of what was collateralizing basically loans they were taking, meaning, they had this token FTT, which wasn't so liquid. And there was huge amounts that basically were kind of held by them and other counterparties. And what happens when you build a castle on sand? It fails, right? That is one nice thing about Ergo is, you can say, okay, well, what is it that actually gives Ergo, value beyond just, let's say, the technical capacities? It's proof of work, right? Proof of work is ultimately what backs Ergo, somewhat similar to Bitcoin, where you take the cost of production, and that kind of is the foundation of value on the network. In this case, it was a coin that they made. I don't even know what the use case of it was, but it seems like they were willing to go to partners and basically use it as collateral to get massive loans. Who's the counterparty on those loans? Probably not a wise idea, but what can you do? And now we have one of the largest exchanges in the space that, looks like is potentially going to default, and retail is going to get wrecked. Ugly. It's an ugly situation. It's going to probably cause a lot of loss of faith, loss of trust in our industry, which, I really can't, I can't blame anybody for seeing this and saying, wow, that's pretty sketchy, because it is, right? It kind of, I don't know, it reminds me of like Lehman Brothers. What do you do when you kind of have a sketchy business? You put your name everywhere and people trust you, buy a stadium. So now we're in a situation where the big question has to do with counterparty risk and liquidation. And, from what I hear, now they're doing some funny business with stable coins, but it's 6 a.m. I just woke up. I can dig into that later today. So what are markets doing? They're basically trying to price risk that's unknown. The reason why it's unknown is because it's in a black box. When you have exchanges, you don't really have the ability to understand both the asset side or the liability side. And in this case, it's kind of, I don't know, I think post-mortem what we'll learn is there's a lot of obfuscation and hiding, how assets are moving. Hopefully, as this progresses and we kind of examine, what happened, how it happened, which, being this guy had the balls to go speak in front of Congress, I imagine there's going to be a pretty thorough post-mortem, let's say, investigation. We'll probably learn quite a bit in terms of how, let's say, the scheme on the back end was working. But the same is true with, Terra Luna. We did learn quite a bit about how things were being manipulated, right? It wasn't what was being sold to the public. Now, ultimately, in my opinion, the ideal is to create trustless environments, right? To where you can understand the assets that are in reserve, you can understand liabilities, you can see positions, you can understand risk, right? Because ultimately, when you're talking about these type of products, the market is both trying to price future growth and, whatever the implications of that are. And they're also trying to price risk, right? And when everything is basically black, there's huge, let's just say malpricing that can occur. And I think we're kind of seeing that. Now, what solves this? DeFi, first principles, open source code, transparency. These are things that at Ergo we've tried to talk about quite a lot, but the reality is most people get a little greedy, and so they take risks that they don't understand. And, in this case, it was, I don't want to say a pretty face because I've seen the guy, but, it was basically sold. This is a trusted person, right? And my recommendation to everybody in this space is what you really want is transparency, right? Don't trust anybody's face. Look at code. If you can't look at code, there are plenty of people that, openly review, talk about how things are structured. And ultimately, that is, in my opinion, the best way to protect yourself because you can understand the assumptions of what you're getting into. I know that this character was sold as the next, I don't know what, Warren Buffett. Yeah, good marketing, I guess. Wonder how much FTX paid for all that, or if, it's wild. It's just wild to me. But anyway, stay safe out there, everybody. I've tried to encourage the community to always know your assumptions, right? Because the more you can know about your assumptions, the more you can understand risk. The more you can understand risk, the more you can protect yourself, right? And ideally, we're trying to build systems where things operate within a certain set of assumptions, right? Proof of work operates under a certain set of assumptions. DeFi, in general, any framework is going to, let's say, be performant within a certain set of assumptions. And it's important to recognize that because then, it gives a certain clarity to kind of the end user.